Is happening, Honey Badger Nation? Man, welcome to another episode of Expert Mentors Live. And man, I am beyond excited to jump into today's topic. We could have hit record 15 minutes ago. It would have been just a fantastic piece adding to the conversation. But we're definitely going to get into all things teams. And Claire, I'm excited to jump in with you. I've got a ton of questions and kind of your thoughts on navigating the team dynamic and structure, where we're at in this kind of season of time and space with AI, what's everything that's happening climate-wise across the country, across the globe. And I'm definitely pro team. Obviously with you being in Tina Call's world, I'm sure you're familiar with Working Genius, and my frustration is tenacity, and which means I always have to have great teams around me to be able to, pursue the vision in whatever it is I'm doing. Right. So I am massively pro team for a lot of reasons. And so I'm super excited to dive into the conversation with you today.
Awesome. Super excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, Claire, give us a little bit of kind of the origin story, right? Obviously, you're in Naples, born in Chicago. Yep. Naples is home. Pursued life before real estate. Traveled a little bit. Ended up landing back in Naples. But give us a little bit of the background, a little bit of an origin story. Life before real estate.
Yeah. So life before real estate, like you said, I actually started in the equestrian industry. I was very big into horses. That was going to be my career. Got into that, loved it. I realized I couldn't make a lot of money doing it. So I also started to look at people that were further ahead of me in that industry and kind of see the lifestyle they lived. And it just didn't match with what I wanted. A lot of them traveled a lot, and I wanted kids. I wanted to be home. So I ended up kind of shifting gears a little bit and going, my mom came from real estate. She wasn't doing it as much when I was a kid, but she had. And so it was definitely in our world. And so I thought, cool, I can do real estate and, have horses as just be my pleasure thing. And real estate will be real flexible and I can do it. And, that typical mom thinking I'll have kids, I can do real estate. It's all going to be great and flexible and I can work whenever I want. So got into it. Ended up, I took my first 2 years, I took a job as an assistant for two big agents here in town. And that was incredible. I was their assistant. I pretty much did everything for them once they got a contract. So I learned so much, did over 100 deals with them. And so when I went into real estate on my own, which I had always told them I wanted to do, my first year, I did almost 10 million in sales. Just kind of took off and realized, wow, I can really do this. So, So
was it was that the belief that, oh, wow, that I could actually do this? Was that it? The selling of the 10 million, being able to, give you that confidence that, this is the path for you?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I felt pretty confident because 2 years I had, I knew I could do it. But yeah, I really didn't know. I don't think I had a benchmark. I didn't know what doing well was. So I remember going to one of my company Christmas parties and having one of the because I was at a big brokerage, nobody really pays attention to anybody. So, but I remember going to the Christmas party and having somebody be like, wow, you're doing really well. And I guess I just thought that's what everyone was supposed to do. And so, it was interesting. That's when I kind of realized, okay, I'm doing a lot of production. And that was fine. I didn't have kids yet. So I was working,
Gotcha.
No problem. Buyer wants to see a house right now. No problem. I can go do it. I can work till 10 o'clock at night. So I have a very typical story that you hear a lot with, a typical agent who gets to that place, had kids. And then I had 3 kids under 2 at one point. I had twins, and then I had another one 11 months behind, or 19 months behind them. So that was fun. That's really what was like, okay, wait a minute. I got to find a way to do this. I got to find a different way.
How long had you been in real estate up to that point with the kiddos?
Well, they were born in my twins were born in 2017. So I started Started in 2012, but was an assistant for a couple of years. So I had been doing real estate for 3 or 4 years, but on my own.
Claire, as that assistant, were you an assistant to like an individual top producer, or did they have a team that you kind of got to see the team dynamic early on in real estate?
Yeah, no. So it was just a partnership. It was 2 agents. They were best friends. They had decided to start a team together. And then they hired me. So their deal, they split everything 50-50. And then I handled all the assistant stuff for both of them. I actually watched them, unfortunately. One of them had some life issues happen. It got kind of imbalanced. And they actually, they don't even talk to this day. So no, actually, I watched that happen. And so I was very against a team of any or partnership of any type. I never had a good example. And when at my brokerage, there was a rule there that's not the rule today anymore. It's a great company. But at the time, the rule was that if you were on a team and you left that team, the team leader got to decide whether you left the brokerage or not, or whether you could stay.
Wow.
Yeah. So I actually had very negative beliefs about teams and that kind of thing. So it was interesting. Yeah. So my journey to building a team was not very natural. It really came from just going, I hit my breaking point, doing production, trying to be a good mom. I had a nanny 3 days a week, but I wanted to have my kids 2 days a week. But basically I was on my phone the entire time I'd have my kids. And there was just so much going on and I was just starting to crumble. And so that's really what forced me to go, I either need to figure out a better way to do this, or I've got to get out of this industry.
When did the belief change? Right. Cause typically we go one way or the other, right? When we have that experience, we either go chasing after that or we avoid it altogether. Mm-hmm. So like for you, what changed the belief?
I think it was a way out. I had thought about other options. My brother ran a big construction company. I thought, I always joke that I must have thought very highly of myself because I thought, oh, well, I could probably go run that company and make what I'm making in real estate, but, but no. So I remember being in that state and having some of those thoughts of like, what could I go do where I could make the money that I'm making right now? And really there wasn't much. And I'm just not the personality to work for somebody else. I'm that typical, I always got in trouble in school. I just don't do well with authority. So I knew that was not going to work. So I think it was kind of more out of like, well, I'm going to have to figure this out.
Yeah.
So I just started, and I remember thinking like, I don't want a team. I want to sell real estate. I don't want to manage people. I sell houses. I don't want to manage people. And so I think maybe some people see my team and think that I was just like, I always had, it's interesting to talk about this because I had this clear path to building a team, but I definitely didn't start that way. I started my team for selfish reasons to get myself more time.
Yeah, no. And I mean, typically that's what happens for most, right?
Yeah.
And I think you got to make a decision at some point, right? Am I building a really high paid job or am I actually building a business? And I think that's kind of where you got to have that fork in the road moment. Mm-hmm. But for you starting out, going at it alone, but then kind of hitting that breaking point mm-hmm. to being that solo producer to driving a fast growing team. Mm-hmm. What was the hardest part of the transition for you?
I think just those early years growing leverage. And it's funny if we back up a minute, so I joined EXP. I actually joined EXP because of my influence from that past broker where all I ever saw was if anyone left a team, it was a very negative thing. There was lawsuits, there was negative, like they never spoke to each other. There was all this animosity if somebody left a team because that team leader had poured so much into this person and they left, right? And now they can't profit from them anymore or whatever. And so when I saw the EXP model, I left that brokerage. I went to another local one, and then I was looking for a place where I could kind of build this environment or this team. I didn't really know what yet, but I knew that if somebody outgrew me, I did not want them to, I didn't want it to be a negative thing. And so when I got on a call with somebody way back in the day, that was such a beautiful thing that, okay, if they outgrow your team, they can still be aligned with you, and you don't have to limit their growth, and they can grow alongside you and with you. And that, I knew nothing about EXP other than that small piece. And that was what sold me. Like, I was like, that's great. That's where I want to build.
I love it. And I think, obviously have about, have right at a decade head start on you in the industry. And early on being kind of pioneering the team model, and the number one flaw in the traditional team model is that your talent always came out the top. And I've seen so many team leaders over the years where they get in trouble because they don't want to lose that talent.
Yeah.
And they start to compromise the math within the business model. And now the business no longer is making the money because you're giving all of the dollars and you're not trading the leverage and the resources to support that individual. And we would hang on to people that we should just let go.
Yeah.
And I loved what you said, because that was one of the things that we found very attractive in the model, was that, okay, we're not going to fight the talent coming out the top. We're going to let them come out of the top. We're going to actually push them to come out of the top, to go do their own thing, and let's stay aligned and supporting you in that growth. And prior to EXP, obviously we have some other examples now with Real and LPT and those other cloud-based brokerage models as examples. Then, man, I was all about it, right? It's like, oh man, this is fantastic. So that was one of the big selling points, that a lot of people don't understand what was happening prior to these models. And you would, almost to the point of, putting your business on life support to just not lose somebody that you should let go.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think people, when you're put in that position too, as a team leader, I think they start to make decisions from scarcity mindset. They start to, again, and you're making those decisions because you don't want them to leave. And so anyway, that's what I loved about the model. And then as I started to learn a little bit more about teams, of course I hired a buyer agent. It failed. I didn't do well. Hired a coach. I kind of started this in COVID. Definitely failed a lot along the way. And I remember going to Dallas. I think it was Brent Grove, and he had Tony Robbins there. And I went to that event and I was like, I need to leave this event and make a decision. And I'm either going production team or I'm going like the rev share route. Because I had a person in town that was influencing me kind of more toward the rev share, but I was kind of, I just needed to decide. And so I left there just deciding that I was going to do production and build a production team. And I coached with Blake Corey for a couple years, who was really great at giving me a really solid foundation to my team, and really opened my eyes to what a great team could look like. And so that kind of propelled me into that direction.
I'm fascinated with kind of decision-making process. What was kind of the process that you go through to make decisions?
Oh gosh, I'm an overthinker, unfortunately. But I've trained myself to make decisions. But I think that's kind of what it was. I was seeing both options. And so for me, that was it. I went to that event and I was like, by the time I leave this event or get home, I went home and I interviewed multiple coaches. But I knew at that point I wanted production. And so I don't know, it was the speakers or, everybody up there, whatever. I don't even remember too many of the presentations, but I remember, I just remember leaving there and knowing I've decided I'm going this direction. And so then I went all in on that, hired a coach, Blake, and then later had several other coaches, and just been building that ever since.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned something earlier about failure. And it sounds like it didn't paralyze you, and you actually persevered through it to continue to keep going forward. A lot of folks run into that failure and it stops them, right? They don't continue to pursue the growth. So for you, how do you think about and handle failure?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of it, and when I started the team, I hired assistant, that's one of the big things I talk about now is hiring great people, right? You cannot, I made that mistake. I hired my first admins were, very low paying because I was scared to commit to the salary. And they were people that didn't have real estate experience. And I thought, oh, just like an assistant, they can just help me. Right. And it's kind of like a top producer too, hiring a VA. It's like, right off the bat, like they need direction, they need training, they need help. And so, yeah, I failed through that. I think I always stayed in coaching. I think that's the biggest thing. I've always had a coach this whole, since I started the team. I think had I not had a coach, I probably wouldn't be here today, because in those moments, like, you need somebody to help you, remind you why you're doing it. But yeah, so definitely failed through a lot of those hires. And that's, it's how I learned and how I eventually hired great people and realized how effective that was. But yeah, failure is part of, I don't sweat it too much. Things go wrong. And I think in my team, I'm often the calm in the storm, because it's like, people come to me with stuff that they think is like a total house on fire. And it's just like, all right, let's think about this. What happened? It's always a system problem, right? Something broke in the system. Let's figure out what, and let's fix it so it doesn't happen again. All right. And let's move on.
Yeah. I love that. And so when you look at kind of agents starting out and you're able to coach them through this, it's scary, right? Like you said, bringing people in, most people look at that as an expense and not an investment.
Yep.
How do you coach them through and think about the math of leverage early on?
Yeah. Well, and so this is why I'm so passionate about either being on a team or build a team. So it's really, if you can be on a team that has all of it, then it limits you're not making payroll every month. You don't have expenses for leads. You don't have, like, if you can find a good running team, you can just plug in and have very little risk, almost none. You're walking away with straight profit, where, if you're going to do it on your own, by all means, do it on your own. Just be prepared you've got to hire, you need help. Right. And so you got to get yourself to a production level where you can now afford a great admin who knows real estate, knows transactions, and who can actually alleviate a lot off your plate so that you can go do what you do best, which is sell. Right.
Yeah. So Claire, there at that point, you got to get to a point, but sometimes the top producers, they get themselves in trouble because, again, it's becoming a high paying job.
Yeah.
And it becomes more of a lifestyle than an actual business. So how are you kind of helping or navigate or think about lifestyle businesses? I make 300, I spend 300. Whereas if you're trying to grow and build a business, it's like, okay, well, I generated 300. I'm only taking, 75 of that, because the rest is left back in for the business to be profitable, for it to invest in leverage and resources. So how do you think about that kind of dynamic, not only yourself, not getting yourself in that trouble, but also coaching the agents and the leaders that you're developing?
Yeah. I think there's a misconception that when people say team, it has to be a 20 or 30 or 50 agent team, right? And that's where I think there's a lot of people who go to start a team who shouldn't build a team like that. I think
who should build a team?
To build a team, I think to someone who really likes to lead, who loves like business and building business, and who likes to lead. And like, I personally I don't want to do production. I think a lot of people build teams that love to sell. And if you love to sell, you're going to make more money selling most of the time. So that's my opinion. And I've studied a lot of teams. I think if you're a really great salesperson and you love selling and you love going on appointments, well, then build yourself a ninja team with a great admin, a showing partner, and a listing partner, right? And do a high volume. I mean, I've seen a ton of those teams and they're super profitable.
Super profitable.
Right? Like do that if you love to sell. I did not want to sell. And so that path would have been very difficult for me. I love leadership. I love personal development. I love leading people. I love teaching people. I think when it comes from my horse background where I used to teach a lot of clinics. Yeah. And so I enjoy running the team. I love pouring into other leaders. And I've built my sales director and my COO and everybody now. And we have this awesome organization. And I love doing that. And I think that's what you have to decide. When someone's starting to think about team, my first question is always, do you love to sell? Do you want to keep selling? Do you thrive there or not? Or do you hate it?
Yeah.
Right.
I laugh at, so Kyle Whissel has a similar question, right? He always asks, and his question is, do you like people? Oh. And he's like, listen, if you don't like people, keep selling. Do not build a team because you will be the most miserable human on the planet. But he said, if you love people, building a team is probably going to be a good move for you. So I always laugh. I always think about that. I'm like, do you like people, Claire? Do you like people?
Yeah. That's a good one. I don't know that I would have. So like, I'm kind of more of an introvert and I'm not a super social, I'm not that extroverted person. And so to me, I would almost feel, sometimes I think back to that person when I started the team. If somebody had asked me these things, because I remember thinking, I don't want to manage people. Like, I don't know that I would have, but something about seeing Blake's team, I actually went out to California and like saw his team meeting and met all his team and saw like all his leadership team. And that was what I really loved. It was like, wow, he was building all these leaders and all these people. And I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah, you and I are very similar in that regard. So you talk about three of the different team models, right? Mm-hmm. So I think this is like designing, and it's just really interesting the space and time we're in, because we are in a very creative, design it the way you want to design it.
Yeah.
Kind of space and time. It's really wild, kind of where we're at, and it's going to serve those that are the most creative. And you talk about small team, high service team, large scale team. Walk us through the real differences and who each is actually built for.
Yeah. So, I mean, the small team we kind of talked about, right? That's perfect for you love to sell. You're really good at it. And you just want to build leverage around you. And I think any solo agent that's doing really well should think about that model. When you go beyond 30 to 40 deals, you gotta have support, showing partners. Like, you can build a real nice, lean, mean team because you're so profitable making those sales yourself. And I've talked to some of those team agents, and of course their objection is always, well, nobody can do it as good as me, right? I can't send that buyer with another agent, or they're going to screw it up, right? And you just have to understand that, they're going to screw it up a little bit, but like ultimately you're going to be able to scale, and they'll learn if you pour into them and grow. And you got to let go of control a little bit, or you're going to just get stuck, right? Yes. You're just going to do it all yourself forever, and you're going to have a mental breakdown, yes. which is what most real estate.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So let go, allow people to make mistakes, and hire first that great admin. They'll take a lot off your plate. And then that's how I scaled. It was admin, showing partner. I would meet the buyer, and then the showing partner would take them. And then eventually I just stopped working buyers altogether. And then I had a listing partner. So I never went to a listing appointment alone. I always had someone helping. And so you can build that team right there and stay very profitable and never go any further. And pour money. Your admin can help with marketing and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to go bigger than that. The next type of team is kind of like Tina Call. I love her team. I kind of follow a lot of what she does. Just kind of that high service. So our team is built really give a high level of service to our agents with a lot of staff. And I think and higher standards, like the agents have to produce more to be here. And so you don't need as many agents, and profit numbers are typically between 20 and 30%. I think for that team to be successful, you really have to be listing heavy. If you're relying all on buyer leads, it's going to be hard to be profitable. But those are the teams that do a really good job at gaining market share in their market, being more listing heavy and growing that way. And then there's like your mega teams that are like 100+ agents.
Yep.
The splits are better, right? Their splits go higher. That middle team, you're going to have to keep your splits a little bit lower to be profitable. But your splits go higher, and then your profit margins end up being like 10-ish, 10 or less typically. And I know you know teams a lot. I mean, I think from what I've studied, that seems like the three kind of avenues.
Yeah. And all three can kind of kick in the ancillary revenues, but where the large scale, your enterprise teams, which by definition, enterprise is more than 50, where they excel is the ancillary benefits of the other businesses that they feed: mortgage, title, insurance, GC stuff, right? Like anything else that gets unlocked. Most of them are doing a lot of remodel, investment, wholesaling, buy and hold kind of investment strategies as well, because they have more opportunities, because they have more hooks in the water, if you will. So I love that. Tina's, I think you're spot on. High service to the agents.
Yeah.
And listen, Claire, I'm 100% in alignment with you. I don't believe anybody should be solo in this industry. I think that's just a recipe that, I mean, you're a dinosaur and you just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody kind of early stage 1, stage 2, it's like, listen, if you're not doing 2 to 3 deals a month, you need to be on a team.
Yeah.
And just for the simple fact that there's over 115 variables anytime you list a property.
Yeah.
How are you going to proactively manage 115 variables on the buy side, close to 100? I mean, on the listing side, close to 100 on the buy side. Oh, plus you got to worry about payroll. Oh, plus you got to worry about this team member showing up sick. Oh, you got to worry about this. You got to worry about that.
Yeah.
You're wearing so many different hats that you're not good at anything.
Right.
And getting into a team environment allows you to get in your lane and just thrive.
Yeah.
And so no matter what, I love what you said. And if you're built to lead, you're built to give, you have patience for other people, for some things, then probably building the team yourself is the way to go.
You got to be really good at what you're doing though, too. I think so many people build before they've ever done things at a high level. And I think, I don't know that I would be as successful with the team if I didn't know as much as I know from selling, right? I sold at a high levels. I had the struggles they had. I did the negotiations. And I think you have to do that too.
Well, because you can put yourself in their shoes, which makes you a great leader.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What questions should an agent ask themselves before they commit to a certain model?
I mean, like I said before, like, do you love to sell? If when you start a team, you're going to either have to sell or you're going to have to recruit in the beginning, right? In the beginning, you got to do both. And what they really need to ask themselves is, why are they doing it? I think that's something lacking in our industry is so many people, we don't have clarity on what we want. And so we're building a team because we saw Claire's team or Tina's team or Kyle's team on Facebook and it looks really cool. And we saw them on the leaderboard and we just think we're really busy, so we should build a team, right? And nobody takes the time to sit down and think about what do you want in life? What do you want your life to look like? And then figure that out and then decide what kind of team structure is right for you.
Yeah, I love that. We always joke, right? It's not like, what do you want to accomplish? It's almost like, how much pain can you withstand? Right? Yeah. That's the question on the goals that you set is like, how much pain what's your pain tolerance?
Yeah. Because those first few years, oh my gosh, I remember crying in my car. I mean, it's everybody needs something from you. You're trying to sell and you're trying to coach and train and recruit and build, and you got payroll and you got this. And yeah, I mean, your sales fund the team for the first year or two.
Yeah.
So you got to be ready for that.
And most people, give up when they're right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's about to just click, and they pull back the reins, and they try to turn the ship around when it's like right there, like you're right there, just stay in the pocket a little bit longer. But I think that's where a great coach and mentor can come in, because that person can be like, listen, like just trust the process. You're right there. I know it feels like there's no hope, but it's just, promise me it's, I like
those bad days. You need someone in your corner.
I don't know if you remember the old Days of Thunder movie, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. But if you've seen the movie, you remember it. Pick a lane and go, right? Drive through the smoke, foot on the gas, like no hesitation, go through it. And like he's so hesitant, and then he gets through it. Yeah. And then game on, and he ends up winning the race, right? Because he had that mental block. That's just a great illustration that I see a lot of team leaders go through. Yeah. It's like they went through the smoke once and they ended up in a car crash. Right. And so now they got to go through the smoke again. And they're like, dude, that was painful last time I went through the smoke. I know. Just trust me. Pick a lane, stay on the gas and go. And it's funny every time I think about that. But that's what a lot of team leaders do. That's the struggle they go through. They're all gung ho, and they go through the smoke, and then they run into the wall, and then when they got to do it again, they're gun shy. And so I think that's where, like you said, a great coach, a mentor, can help them get through whatever it is that they got to get through to get to the other side. But personal development helps through that. Coaching development gets through that. Mm-hmm. I believe the number one system, the number one process in any business, the number one, besides customer acquisition, but the number one is the hiring process. Mm-hmm. And so hiring great people is one thing. And you said it earlier, actually letting go of control is another. Mm-hmm. How have you personally worked through nailing the hiring, letting go of control, really leaning in and trusting your systems and your processes? How did you work through that to get to where you're at today?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because I teach it now. I teach it to my agents, but how did I get through it? Yeah. I mean, I hired those assistants that were just not very good, and then finally bit the bullet and hired someone. And I think I realized, so one of my first assistants quit on me by leaving me a sticky note, basically saying, I don't know, I can't remember what it said. I'm sure it said something like I quit or whatever. And I never talked to her again. She just left. And that was kind of one of those moments where it was like, I don't know if I realized it at the time. I look back on it now and go like, obviously I was too controlling and whatever. She couldn't work with me. So that was a big one. But great people don't want to be micromanaged. And so if you hire somebody great and then you won't leave them alone and show them what they can do, you're just not going to keep people. No. Right. And so, I don't know. I read a lot of books like 5 Levels of Leadership and all these things. And luckily I had a good coach that, Blake was really telling me, a lot of that stuff. He was going through EOS, kind of teaching me that. And so, I think I just had a great coach in those moments to kind of tell me, like, you gotta let go of control. You gotta hire somebody that's better than who you're hiring. And then when I found the one I have now, Kennedy, who's my COO today, I mean, she was a transaction coordinator. She had sold real estate. So like what she could do when she came in was incredible. And then just over time, we've learned about conflict, and how to handle conflict. I think that's where people, that can make or break you. If you can't handle conflict and you don't know how to have conflict with people in a healthy way, you'll really struggle to build a team, because it comes up all the time. With your leadership team, but then with your agents, there's always going to be conflict that has to be dealt with. So just growing through that, growing through learning how to do that, learning how to be a better leader kind of forced me to understand that I couldn't just control everything.
Claire, what's your take on, so you said conflict resolution.
Yeah.
Being better at conflict resolution, difficult conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe it improves the other areas of leadership, of marketing, of sales, of negotiation, of persuasion? If you're better at conflict resolution, it makes everything else better.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. If you think about it, if you sell real estate, you got it. There's going to be conflict with your seller, the other agent, negotiations. I mean, it's everything. Yeah, it's everywhere. And, there's emotions come into play when you have a different idea of what someone else does. And so if you don't know how to navigate that with respect, and if you can't you got to be able to listen to people and understand their perspective, and which, to your point, it's the same when you're working with a seller, a buyer, a negotiation, another agent, an employee. It's everywhere.
Yeah, that's so good. Best decision that you've made building the team?
That's a tough one. I feel like we've made a lot of good moves.
Is there one that changed the trajectory of the business?
I think hiring Kennedy, my COO at the time. It was so funny. I went to interview her and I was super excited because I had so what was happening, what I was doing is I was hiring people that I liked, right? And all those people ended up being high I's, for anyone that does DISC personality, right? High I is like a super social person. They'll always crush the interview because they're great at talking to you, right? So I was hiring all these high I's to do, but what I needed was an SC personality. I needed somebody, or tenacity, in the working genius, I needed somebody that was good, tenacity was their working genius. And I was hiring people that were too much like me. And so I'm hiring these people and they're just not they're not good at admin. And that's what I needed. And so when I finally learned, I looked at this DISC and I said, no, I need an SC. I'm not hiring them if they're not the right personality. And when I found Kennedy and she was the exact personality I needed, I interviewed her and she told me she had already accepted another job. And I was like, listen, I said, I just need you to meet me. Let's just meet. I'm going to just do an interview. I met her at like a Panera Bread on like a Sunday and showed her like my whole vision, showed her my accountability chart, like what I wanted to do with the business, and convinced her to come on board with me. And so that was probably the best decision because she's been with me ever since. And we've grown this team now 45, 50 agents, and she's my COO today. So that's the best.
I love it. I love it. It's fun. It's funny. Most of the time that answer is it's a who. Mm-hmm. And that's typically the best decision we make is always a who decision. And now that's so cool to hear. One book, one tool, one mindset shift every leader needs.
Book. I love 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. That was one of my favorite books. 5 Levels of Leadership is also great. Anything along those lines, but 5 Dysfunctions of a Team really talks about conflict and how, and how certain people are the right fit and some are not. Mindset shift, abundance. You got to come from abundance in your business. And it's going to take hard work. I think that's another thing. People, again, we see the highlight reel, we see how cool it is and how it looks. And like everybody with a team struggles, or in real estate or in business.
In business.
Yeah. In business. Sometimes I remember calling my brother and being like, I just want to burn this thing down and maybe I'll come start a construction company or something.
Yeah.
This was years later. I'm thinking now I can start my own. And he's like, Claire, it's everywhere. He's like, I deal with it too. Right. He's like, because in that moment, my thought was, oh, well, it's because I have 1099 employees. So I'm going to go run a business where I have employees and he's like, no, it's the same thing. So I think just understanding that business is hard and that's what you're signing up for if you're going to run a business. And you got it. The ones that win, the ones that make it, the ones that grow are the ones that just don't give up, as cliche as it sounds, right? Like that's what everyone always says, but it's true. You just keep going. You keep going, you have the right coaches, the right environment, and get very clear on what you want.
Yeah, I love it. All starts with clarity. How are you thinking about AI and the team and moving into the future?
It's interesting. I'm just trying to, so I'm not obsessed over it, but I'm trying to make sure we keep up. So like I actually have on my calendar tomorrow, I'm going to watch the Phil Stringer thing that we just did in Fast Forward, and I'm going to build an agent. Like I'm already in, obviously we use chat and we use Claude, but I'm going to build an agent and do all that stuff. So I feel a responsibility as the team leader to make sure that we're keeping up. I don't need to be at the front of the line. We don't need to have, I don't need to be the first one doing all these things. I've never been that way. I'm kind of like, let them figure it out and then I'll implement it. But I just want to make sure we keep up. I think it's interesting. We'll see. We'll see if some people are saying it's going to become so AI that people are going to crave the personal, I know Leo always says that people are going to crave the personal connection, the in-person events and that kind of stuff. I hope so. But we'll see. Yeah. I'm just open-minded about it and just learning as much as I can about it to make sure we keep up with it.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think all leaders, business leaders need to stay informed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you need to take it a step to build on your own. You will have a deeper appreciation and understanding if you are tinkering and building.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing is stay informed. I tell everybody, make sure you're tuned in to Peter Diamantis's Moonshots podcast. I think that's going to keep you the most informed on a global to the moon, to Mars, in space, in water, on land, everything that's coming and happening behind the scenes with AI will keep you the most informed. So I tell everybody, I'm like, listen, you're gonna listen to it. You're not gonna understand half of the things they're talking about. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Just listen to it. Stay informed. You're going to be better off, even if you're not tinkering and you're only using it from a kind of a search and chat type of approach. Getting familiar with it, but you as a leader taking it one step further, if you're in and building, you'll have a deeper appreciation for what's possible. And so I love that. I love that. I love that. That's a great recommendation.
Yeah, I'll check that out because I think with AI too, there's a lot of fear. And I think anytime I listen to podcasts and stuff, it's very fear of, this is going to take over the world and, it's going to be so bad. And I guess my attitude is, I get it if that happens, but I don't have control over that. See, I've let go of control completely these days.
and your key word in there was abundance. And that's why I wanted to share that with you, because that made me think about Peter Diamandis is abundance. He really comes from, he's the most optimistic, utopia type future that you could ever listen to. And they are pro Utopia, pro abundance, pro Star Trek. They are not Terminator. They are all this direction. So that. You will love it. It's a great listen. There's so many things that will spin off from it. I've been pushing out to everybody. Episode last week was Celine, who wrote Exponential Organizations. You and your COO need to listen to that episode with just Salim and Peter, and they're talking about organizational singularity, and it's the direction of where organizational structure and dynamics and design is going. And you geek out on it, and you already have a rock star COO in place. Y'all are going to have to nail the organizational structure. We all do. Moving into the future. So I can't recommend it enough. You guys are in the right headspace. You're in the right structure. You've got the right people around you. That's just where you want to live.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely check it out.
Claire, how can people get connected? How do people get more of you?
Cool. Yeah. You can find me Facebook, Instagram. I write a lot on Facebook, so find me there, just Claire Gogan. And then I think my Instagram is like at Claire. I think it's just Claire Gogan. I'm terrible. I should know that stuff. That's it. I'm in Naples, Florida. You Google the Gogan Team, you'll find us. Reach out anytime. I'm always happy to help. Yeah.
I love it. Claire, thank you so much. And really stepping into the show and really embodying what the whole Expert Mentor series has been about. And I can't thank you enough for carving out the time, pouring back into Honey Badger Nation. And I know we'll have to do it again. So I look forward to that as well. Guys, make sure go give Claire some love. Go follow her on Instagram and reach out with any team dynamic, anything that you guys are trying to navigate through, even if it's a decision on which team direction should I go. Claire's going to be a tremendous resource for you guys.
Awesome.
Thank
Claire, you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time, and let's keep rocking. We'll see you.
All right. Bye.